Hakadosh Boker Tov Masechet Ketubot Daf 69A1. The Gemara is brought above the din of Rabbi. You're going to collect the nedunya even from the property of the father that the Yorshim sold. So, for example, you have inheritors here, and they sold the property. Still, she could come and collect her nedunya, her dowry, from those properties that they came and they sold. Tala le Rav le Rabbi ben Yichite. So in the Yigeret Shlomim that Rav sent to Rabbi, he asked this question, Ben Ashurot. What was the question exactly? Ha'achin sheshibedu mahu. What happens in the case of brothers that they were shibu, which means they came and they got properties from their father, and they were mishabed these properties. Can the sister come and collect her nedunya from these properties or not? So Aviyati Rabbi Chia kame. So Rabbi Chia was sitting in front of him. Elmaleh, and he went and he said, Machru o mishkenu. Well, what is the kavanah? They sold it or they used it as a collateral, right, against the chov? Elmaleh, he said, Ma'inaf kamino. What's the difference whether he sold it or used it as a mashkon? Ben machru, ben mishkenu. It doesn't matter whether they used it as a mashkon or as, right? It doesn't matter how exactly they used it. He comes and he says, Motzi'in leparnasa ve'motzi'in lemezonot. You do take it out for parnasa. Remember, parnasa was for the nedunya, but not for mizonot. So you do take it out for the parnasa, right? But not for the nedunya. Okay? Fine. V'rav, and according to Shita of Rav, imachru kamibayle nichtov le machru or mishkenu kamibayle nichtov le. So one second. If you're going to tell me the entire question was to do with if they sold it, so just say machru. If you're going to tell me then that it was the brothers that they sold it or used it as a collateral, also you should write it, right? So write it down. So his answer is the Gemara. Rav, right? He comes and he says, Tarvayu kamibayim. Rav actually comes and he says, right, that he's asking the question on both of them. What does it mean, right? Kamibayim. What does that mean? He comes and he says, V'savar, ikativna le, if they're going to come and they're going to ask the question, Machru, hanicha yishalach li demotzin, then it makes sense why he said, they're going to take it out. So kol shekeno, the more so if mishkeno, if they came and they did it as a mashkon. Mashkon is what? Mashkon is a collateral. Okay? Okay, makes sense? So Ishalachli, he comes and he says, yeah, Ishalachli en motzin. If you're going to tell me now, en motzin, you're not going to take it out from the properties. So akati nishkenon kamibayle. So we still have a question to do with mashkon. Remember, mashkon is a collateral. That they're using it as a collateral opposite a debt. Ikativna le mishkeno. So if they would have written down, right, that the brothers that they used it as, right, as the mashkon. The ishalachli the en motzin. And if he's going to send that they did not take it out, so kol sheken machru, then all the more so if it's going to be that they sold it. The ishalachli motzin. So then what? Akati machru kamibayle. So then you still have the question, what about machru? So echtov lo shibedu de mashmachi mashmachi. So why don't we just say that if it's going to be shibedo, which is mashma sometimes this way and sometimes the other way, fine. Rabbi Yochanan says echad ze v'echad ze. Doesn't matter whether it's machru, mishkeno, and motzin. You do not take it out of the properties. Okay, fine. Ibailehu. They're going to ask the following question now. Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yochanan, lo shmiya li had Rabbi. We did not hear that which Rabbi came and he said, V'ishmiya right? Now, if he did hear it, he would have accepted it. Maybe he would have heard it, but he wouldn't have accepted it. So, Tashema, we're going to come and we're going to, right, bring a proof. The Itmar was stated, imagine somebody dies. He leaves over 2 daughters and 1 son. So the first daughter comes and she takes 10% of the properties. The second one doesn't have enough chance to take the second 10%. Until the boy dies now. What's going to happen now? One more time. There's 2 girls and 1 boy. 2 girls and 1 boy. Right? 2 sisters, 1 brother. The father dies. Right? The first daughter, she comes, she takes 10% for her nedunya. Right? The second daughter still didn't take the 10%. Right? But what happened? The brother died. So now, technically speaking, who's taking the inheritance? No. So now the brother dies. How is he going to take it? The brother died. Who's she? Why would she take? There's both of them.
They had 10%. But yet coming back and they can split the rest. Otherwise,
says Rabbi Yochanan, shnia bitra. The second sister lost her 10% of the nedunya, which means she loses it. What does that mean? That means that they only split the properties equal. That means the first daughter already took 10% for her nedunya. The second daughter didn't take anything yet. The brother died. Now they take whatever's left, the 90% and 45. Yeah. Okay, anyway, you're saying Chatzin Nechama. Fine. Amar Rabbi Chanina, says Rabbi Chanina, Gedola mizo amru, we even said even greater than this. Motziin leparnasah ve'motziin mizonot. Right? Ve'at amarta shniya v'itra. When you just said that you're going to take out of the lepuchot for parnasah, for the nedunya, and you're not going to take for mizonot, now you're going to tell me that according to Shrat Rav Yochanan, the second daughter loses her nedunya, right? If it's going to be such a powerful concept, the nedunya, that you could take out from the chasim mishubadim, kal v'chomer then, right? That they could. What's going on there? So he comes and he says, "V'imita neimale manamna." So if you're going to tell me now that that's correct, so they could say, "Who's the one that said this halacha?" The dilma leolam lo shmi aleim. Really, be'emet, he didn't hear it. Yeah, we're on samechtet. Okay, I'm glad. And if he would have heard it, he would have actually accepted it. But it's different over there. What does that mean? Since there's already a shefa for what he needs, if they would take half of the Yerusha, so then you don't need the Yisur Nechasim. Meaning like this. What was the entire concept of giving the 10% to the daughter? The concept was that she doesn't have anything for her dowry. She needs a dowry. So what do? You give her 10%. But if you're going to now give her 45%, does she need the extra 10%? She doesn't need it. She all of a sudden now she got triple. So therefore, that's why we didn't. That means even though technically speaking, she should have got, she should have got 10% if she's not getting anything. And if she's not getting anything, she gets a minimum of 10%. Here she's getting 45%. So therefore, that's it. You're right. The older daughter, she was lucky. You understand? She was lucky. But that's what he says over here.
Got double.
Not the double, but she got the 10%. Yeah? So says the Gemara.
Supposed to get 10%.
Says the Gemara. Okay? Amale Rav Elmaleh Ravashi. Says Rav Elmaleh to Ravashi. Ela me'ata, they're now going to ask the following question. Ashkecha mitzia be'alma. We're going to find that if the Yitomah found the mitzia. I'm going to ask you a question. You guys listening? The Yitomah found the mitzia. She found $100,000 on the street. Yeah? Are you going to tell her you're not going to give it? At the end of the day, the brother died. By the brother dying, what happens? It's like as if that she found the mitzia. If she found the mitzia, this girl, the second daughter, she's walking on the street, she finds a lottery ticket. She won the lotto, $500 million. She doesn't need to take the 10%. If Magia the 10%, right, of the Yisur Nechasim for Nedunya, she gets it. What do I care now that she found the mitzia? Now she's not going to take it? So he says over here the exact same thing. This is also a mitzia. So why in the world was she not going to come and take the 10% from the properties? So answers the Gemara, Elmaleh, Ana revach beta me'ahani nechase kamina. When did I say that she loses the nedunya? When the money is coming from the same Yerusha. In that case, then they didn't institute the extra 10%. Meaning, you're right. In Achanami, if she all of a sudden became a wealthy woman, right, and now she wants to get married, nobody could stop her. Right? Nobody could come and stop her from taking something that they deserve. You understand? Nobody could stop her. Right? She has the rights. She's allowed to. Yeah. When is it a problem? Only in a case where all of a sudden, where it's coming from the same properties. Because if it's coming from the same properties, then no. Okay? Fine. Amar Amimar. Amimar says, but Yoreshet Avia, he says, do you know, right, when we're talking about the entire concept of, right, the bat taking the Yisur Nechasim, right, is that B'Torat Yerusha? Right? Is that like a mamash like a Yerusha? I mean, she gets like an inheritance of the 10%. So Amalei Ravashi Le'Meimar says Ravashi Le'Meimar, Ilu Bai Le'Seluke Bezuze, Hachanami Delomatzi Le'Seluke. If they want to come and get rid of her with money, right, instead of actually, it means basically they're not going to give her the property. They're going to give her money, right? Hachanami, that they actually can't do it, right? Why? Because she's allowed to take the actual property, just like a Yerusha. Because if you're going to tell me it's like a Yerusha, you can't just get rid of her with money.
So this is not the dowry.
This is the dowry. The 10% is for the dowry, the nedunya. No, the question was that when you're giving her this 10%, is this 10% like a Yerusha? What's an afkamina? Can they come and right now, and say, you know what? fine, 10%. I'm going to look at value. Why? They want the real estate. They don't want to give her a piece of property. So what are they going to do? They're going to say, okay, how much is the value? 10,000. Here's 10,000. I'm giving you money. But if you're going to tell me it's a Yerusha, she inherits the actual property. So they cannot get rid of her with cash, right? She would actually take the piece of the land, and then she could do whatever she wants with it. You understand? She could either sell it, right? She could do whatever she wants with it. Let's say she wants the real estate, and then all of a sudden the prices are going up. It's Surfside, right? And it's booming. She's not going to want right now to sell or to get rid of it with the cash. She wants no. The father died. If the father's still here, what are we talking about? The father could give her 2% of the property. He could give her 100% of the property. A father can give whatever he wants, right? For the right. Obviously, we're talking about the father's not here. Okay. Elmaleh, so he comes and he says, "In yes, be'emet they cannot get rid of her, right? Be'emet they cannot get rid of her with the cash." Okay. He says also, if they want to get rid of her with one field, which means they're going to give her one field which already has a value of 10%, and then they're going to have all the other fields. So now what, you're going to tell me also that she can't do that? Right? Why not? So Elmaleh, in yes, be'emet, she could actually come and ask 10% from every single field, and she won't get 10% from one field. Because they might say, you know what, fine, no problem. You know what, we have to give her 10%. 10% is that field over there. So instead of giving her 10% from every single field that we have, and then she's like, like a partnership in the field, I just throw her to that field, that's hers, right? And we get all the rest, and that's it. We divide it between ourselves. No, she could ask for 10% of every single field. And in every single field, she's got 10%. Right?
Wow, that's a tremendous
100%. So he says, Ravashi says, no, but Balat Chov Avia. She's not a Yoreshet. She's a Balat Chov. And since it's a Balat Chov, you can get rid of the Chov in any other way. So for example, they want to pay her off. They can pay her off. They don't have to give her a piece of field. She's a Balat Chov. Right? They have a debt to her. So how do you pay off a debt? You don't have to pay a debt in a field, in karka. You could pay with money. So therefore, they just have to pay her money. Right? They don't have to do anything else. So that's going to be the machloket between Amimar and the Ravashi. Right? Amimar says that a bat, she's considered a Yoreshet to do the 10% of the Yisur Nechasim. And Ravashi comes and he says she's a Balat Chov. If Amimar had a bait, even Amimar retracted. Says why? I was saying in front of him, there was a woman that came in front of him. She wanted the 10% of the properties for the Nedunya. Right? And I saw that his dat was the was that they could come and they could pay her off. So then they could get her off. Because I heard from the brothers that were saying her, if we would have had money, we would have just got rid of her. He didn't say anything. Meaning the brothers come in front of everybody. They come and they say, Chaval. If we had the cash, if we had liquid, we'll get rid of her. Amimar didn't say anything. So the fact that Amimar didn't say anything, it's a proof that he actually needs to retract it. And he said, the Behemet, if they had money, they would have been able to. So says the Gemara, okay, fine. Hash, that means that even Amimar retracted. Hash, one second. You just said now she's a Baalat Chov. Correct? What's a Baalat Chov?
No.
Basically, the Chayavim Lakes. The question is, yeah.
No,
one second. Now the question now though is Baal Chov of who? Who owes her the money? Who? The brothers or the father? Who? Right? 1 second. Right? No, what does that have to do with it? If somebody owes money, there's going to be enough money, right? If somebody owes money to somebody and he dies, right? He's still about it. Now it could be that the Yerushim have to come and pay back the debt, right? But 1 second. Or is it that? Which one? First, well, obviously, meaning the guy's not going to come from the grave to pay back. That's according to everybody. Like nobody says that he's going to come back from the grave unless Behemet he does have to come back, because if he doesn't pay back, it's a problem, right? The kovav, right? There's a famous pasuk in Baba Kama, right? That there the Gemara says Baba Kama that if a person has a debt and he doesn't pay back a debt, he will have to come back in a gilgul to pay it back, right? It's a very famous Gemara, right? But again, we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about though who has the chov. Why? My nafkamina says, well, what was that nafkamina? At the end of the day, the father's not the one that's paying it back. The only question is, it's the Yorshim. Now, are the Yoshim paying it back mitzad the Abba, mitzad the father, or the Yoshim paying it back mitzad themselves? So said the Gemara, lemigba lebenonit shelo bishvua, veziburit bishvua, right? My. What does that mean? Right? If right now she's going to take from benonit, from a karka benonit without a shivua, or from ziburit, right, with a shivua. Okay, what does that mean? Right? If she's considered a balat chov of the father, so she cannot take from the Yoshim only ziburit, right? Because you don't collect for the properties of Yatomim unless ziburit. Ziburit is the lowest level of a karka, meaning it's not good, right? It's not a piece of land here in Surfside. It's a piece of land in Opaloka. You understand? Hialeah. You understand? That's what it is of ziburit. Okay, just so. Eno govela bishvua. Also, since it's coming from the Yoshim, you have to make right a shivua. Okay, she has to make a shivua. Why? You're taking from property of Yitomim. You have to make a shivua. However, though, if she's a balat chov of the brothers themselves, so then she doesn't have to make a shivua because they're their bal chov. It's not the bal chov of the father. Number one. Number two, also, she could collect from benonit, from middle class property. In a sense, so she could collect from what's middle class? I don't know. Miami Beach. Yeah. Right, that's
Mid Beach.
right, mid beach. Right, that's the middle class.
80s.
You understand? So that's what it is. So what my what's halacha? Huh? Alach le Rav Nechemia bered Rav Yosef le Rabba bar Rav Huna Zuta Minarda. Sent Rav Nechemia, the son of Rav Yosef. Sorry, I skipped and nobody even tells me. Tashema, we learned in the Braita. The Ravina Agbe lebrate the Ravina Agbe lebrate the Ravashi. Right? He comes and he says like this: when Ravashi passed away, right? The Ravina came and he took from the Yoshim 10%, right, for the dunya of the daughter of Ravashi. Mimor bered Ravashi, for more bered Ravashi. Benoni lo b'shua. He did a benoni without a shua. Mi bered Rav Sama bered Ravashi. Ziburi b'shua. So what's going on here? It doesn't make sense. From one of the people he's coming, he's taking ziburi with a shua. So it's mashma that it's a balchov of the father. But then from the other one, he came in and collected it from benoni without a shua. So there's actually it says over here, right? You see, he says from the beno of Rav Sama beno shel Ravashi, right? From ziburi b'shua. So from the fact that he took from the son of Ravashi, Benoni b'lo shua, it's mashma that it's a balat chov of the brothers. However, the grandson, so then it's going to be with ziburit and mishua. You understand what happened? One more time. Ravashi passed away. He had a son, which is called Mor Bered Ravashi. He has a grandson called Rav Sama Bered Ravashi. Right? Right? That's the grandson. Okay, so he comes and he says, so he collected from. Right? He comes and he says like this. He says he collected from the brothers like it was the Baal Chov of the brothers. So therefore, no, from the brothers. From the brothers, he collected, meaning from the son of Ravashi, he collected for the sister, he collected it from Benoni without a Shavua. So it's Balat Chov of the brothers. From the grandson, he collected it, Ziborit, right? And with a Shavua, because that's already a grandson. So therefore, there it's already from the father. So therefore, it's going to be ziburit and with a shavua. Okay. Here in the footnote, it actually says Rav Sama, he died during the lifetime of his father Ravashi. So therefore, when Ravashi passed away, Rav Sama collected collected his portion from his father from the Yerusha of the grandfather. One more time, Ravashi is the grandfather, right? Ravashi is the grandfather. He has two children, Mor Bered Ravashi and Rav Sama, the son of Ravashi. So what happened is that the son of Ravashi over here passed away during the lifetime of Ravashi. Okay, and then Ravashi passed away. Now there's a sister. So there's a sister and two brothers. One brother already died. So from this brother that's alive, right, Ravina came and he collected from him Benonit without a Shavua. Mashma that it's a Balchov of the brothers. Because you don't need a Shavua, right? And he's collecting Benonit, not Ziburit. But from the grandson, he took it as from a Yoresh. So therefore, right? Doesn't matter. Let's say she was older. Doesn't matter. Because the Dalach le Rav Nechemia bered Rav Yosef. Sent Rav Nechemia Rav Yosef. Le Rabbi Rav Huna Zuta min Nada. To Rabbi Rav Huna Zuta from Nada. Ki atya ha'itata lekamach. When this woman came in front of you to collect the nedunya, agba yisur nechasim afilu mitzrubla. Is she going to come and take the 10% even from her nedunya, even from the basis, right? That you put the rechaim. It's the istrubla is the basis of the rechaim. Okay, it's the how do you call it? The basis, the base of the mill. Okay, even from that, but it's considered karka. So Ravashi says, Kaviram be Rav Kahana, when we were in the academy of Rav Kahana, remember it's a Bet Midrash. Bay is the house, or the academy, the house, the Bet Midrash of Rav Kahana. Have a magbina nafilu me'amla de beite. They used to take, right, even from the schirut that they were paying for the houses. Yeah, why? Because since they come mikoach karka, it's considered karka. No, you have a property and you're getting rents. So that's schirut. So they will even take why? Because that's not considered movable objects. It's coming because of karka, which means the land is producing rent. So they could collect even from the rent. Because since it's coming from the land, it's considered like land. So Shalach le Ravanan Ravuna, Ravanan comes and he says to Ravuna, Huna chavrin, Huna my friend. Yeah? Shalom. When this woman comes in front of you to collect the 10%, and she's going to take the 10%, right? So she went, and she's going to take the 10%, which is from the Nedunya. Rav Shesha was there. Elmaleh, and he tells him, right, to Rav Shesha, Zil Elmaleh, go tell him, Uveshamta yeman delo Elmaleh, right, benidui, right, is going to be somebody that's not going to say that. Anan, right? Anan, right? What is that? Are you talking about Mikarka or from Metaltalin? And he went and he answered, who's going to be in the Rosh, in the Bet Mizrach, in the Bet Marzach? What does that mean? Right there, we're going to see that there it could be it's Marzach is Avelut, which means that they used to be at the head of the tables. It was Nikar, right? Who was the Rosh Mesubin? So the Gadol used to be at the Rosh, and then the second one was a little bit below him, the Chen Hala, right? So the question was, who's going to be Meseb Vetavel at the top, right? When they're coming to be Menachem Oto. So in this question, Rav Huna was coming and telling Ravanan, right, that he was also the head of his city. That doesn't mean that he's actually very important, because he's also like an Avel Meseb Berosha Mesubin, whether he's Chashuv or he's not Chashuv. Right? Why? Because it all depends on the city. So Azar Rav Shesha lekamed Ravanan. So Rav Shesha went in front of Ravanan to do the shlichut, right? And since he didn't want that he should be upset at him, right, he showed him that he was a shliach bal korcho. That means he didn't want to do the shlichut because Rav Huna was giving it hard to Ravanan. So he didn't want Rav Sheshat. He didn't want. So he was showing him like, Elmaleh. He comes and he says Moraba, which means he comes and he says, right, the Rav, which means you are a rabbi, right? You're my Rebbe. The Rav Huna Rabbi de Rabba. However, the Rav Huna is the Rav of Rebbe. V'shamuti shamit mandelo Elmaleh. So he told me that he's going to put anybody which is not going to. That means basically, if they're not going to say the things exactly, he's going to be put in nidui. If he loved the shamit lo avekamina, and if it wasn't that he was gozer nidui, right, I wouldn't have said the following things. Anan, right, anan, right, because his name was Ravanan, yeah. So right, is it from Mekarkao or from Taltalin? And he answered me, right, who is the one which is in the head of the Marzech? So Azar Ravanan lekamed the Morukva. So he went in front of Morukva, and he says, Did you see how Ravuna came and he was mizalzelbi? That he said, Anan, right? Right now, 1 second. Why is he getting upset? He himself did the same thing. Right? He himself, the Madam Shif, brings down that he himself said, right? He went and he said, Huna chavrin. Right? So what's, like Huna are friends. So what's the big deal that he went and he said, Anan. Ve'od, Marzecha de Shalachli? I don't know what Marzecha is. Elmaleh, he went and he told him, Ema li'izi, right? Tell me what happened. Ema li'izi gufa duv. Tell me what is Sarchteta Muvet. What was the case exactly? Elmaleh, he says, Hachi v'achi, this was the story. Elmaleh, he went and he told him, Gavra doledam ani marziche, right? So he says, a person that doesn't know what marzech is, Shalach le Rav Huna Huna chavri. He says, if you don't even know what marzech is, you're going and you're calling him your friend. So imagine you have this guy that he comes and he's saying to a big rabbi, my friend. You're going to tell me that you're my friend? Well, what are you talking about? You're going to say, like, what's going on? So my marziche, what is marziche? So he says, Anavel. Tichtiv ki chomar Hashem al tavo bet marzeach ve'al telech lisfo v'tono lehem. So he's saying that's avelut. So Amar biyavu says, minayin le'avel. So how do we know that an avel is mesev b'rosh? Shneimar b'sezer pasuk kevchar darka ve'eshev rosh ve'shkon kimelech be'gdud asher avelim minachem. So says Gemara, Yinachem Acherim Mashma. It's Mashma that he's Menachem other people. But 1 second, what's that going on? Amar Nachman Yitzhak Yenucham Ketiv, but it's written Yenucham, which means Avel himself is going to be Yoshev Barosh when he's being Menucham, when he's being consoled. Okay, Morzuta comes and says there's another pasuk also where it says Me'acha Besam Mirzach Sruchim. It's pasuk in Amos Mar Vazach. What does that mean? Right? It says that he's bitter and he's Zach Alavdato, which means the Avel, he's completely, his mind is not there. Na'asa Sar L'Suchim. So he's going to become a Sar, right, to the Gdolim, that they come to what's it called? To be Menachem Oto. So Rava says, it's only the halacha is that you only collect from the karka, not mentaltalin, whether it's going to be mezonot, ketubah, or parnasa. Mishnah, Samechet Amud Bet 69b, says the Mishnah, Hamashlish ma'ol lebitov. Somebody is going to be putting money to his daughter in the hand of a third party. So he gives it in the trust or gives it, to an attorney, to somebody that's going to be in charge of it, right? Vehi omeret, and she says, Ne'eman bali alai, right? That what? That, my husband is a trustworthy person. You could give it to him, right? We don't listen to him. Yaseh hashlish ma she'ushlach bi'yado. He has to do exactly what was given, meaning has to give it directly to her. It's not going to be to the the husband or to nothing. No. Yeah.
She can give it to him.
This says these are the words of Rabbi. Rabbi Oziel says, "V'chi ena ela sadeh." Says 1 second. At the end of the day, right? What is it going to help now that you're going to buy her, right, something against her will? He says, even if you already purchased it, she could sell it. She can do whatever she wants. So therefore, we do listen to her and we give it to her. Why? Because she can do whatever she wants with the property. But one of these words, bigdola, only with the gdola. But if it's going to be a ktana and Masechta krum, that's nothing. Says the Gemara, we went to the right. Person gives money to his son-in-law to buy a field for his daughter. And she says, give it to the husband. If she said it from nisuin onwards, she's allowed to. Why? Because this is what she's saying. But if it was only from irusin, right? The shlish can do what he has to do what he was told to do. Rabbi Yosef says, but if she's gdola, she could do whatever she wants because she's a gdola. Meaning, once she's a gdola, it doesn't matter whether it's irusin or nisuin, she could give it to the husband. Ktana, but if she's a ktana, if she's a ktana, doesn't matter whether it's from the nisuin or nisuin, the shlish has to do exactly that which was commanded to him to do. So ask the Gemara, what's the difference between them? If you're going to tell me then the difference between them is a ktana min and nisuin, right? Because remember, we just said the ktana from the nisuin. The Rabbi says that the permission is in her hands because she's married. Rabbi Yosef says no, that only gdola, not a ktana. Let's see the seifa. Aval ktana, but to do the ktana, it's nothing. Haman ktani, who's teaching that one then? You're going to tell me some Yosef, you already learned it from the Reisha. The Amar Rabbi Yosef, as Rabbi Yosef says, it's only a sadeh, she could sell it, so it's sold from now. So Gedolah de Bat Zvine, only a Gedolah can sell something, then yes. But a Ktana cannot sell anything. A minor cannot sell a field. Lo, then it doesn't help. But rather it's Rabbi. It's lacking part of the Mishnah, and this is what it has to say. You have to do that which the Shalish was commanded to do. But when these words mean from the Nisuin. But from the Nisuin, she's allowed to do it. Why? Only in a Ktana, which means you're doing both things. Nisuin plus Gdola. Because if it's going to be a Ktana, remember, Ktana does not do anything. So therefore, obviously, that's not nothing. We're talking about a Gdola and Nisuin. So says the Gemara, okay, fine. So then the only nafkamina between them is Gdola min harusin then. Right? Because if she's Gdola min harusin, according to Rabbi Meir, you need a Nisuin. But according to Rabbi Yosef, you just needed that it's a Gdola. So then that's enough kamina between them. Okay? So Itmar, it was stated, Rav Yudah says the name of Shemuel, Alachaz like Rabbi Yosef. And Rava says the name of Menachman, Alachaz like Rabbi Meir. Okay? That means basically it has to be that even if she's a Gdola, it does not help by Irusin.
Where do we go according to Rabbi Meir?
Which one?
Okay.
Ilfa. There was a story with Ilfa. Ilfa is the name of a Chacham. Tala nafsha bi Iskaria de Machuta. He was talatzmo betoren sfina. Right? What does that mean? There's a Gemara in, right?
Ta'anit.
So he's Gemara in Ta'anit, it says over here, right? So he comes and he says like this, right? So he says like this. He says, Amar ika de'ati da'amar liminta de Rabbi Chia Rav Oshia. If there's going to be somebody that's going to tell me from the Bet of Rabbi Chia Rav Oshia, and I'm not going to answer it from a Mishnah. Nefila miskaria v'tavana. I'm going to jump off, and I'm going to drown. Because he went on top of the Torah. And how do you say the Torah in English? It's the what?
Mask of the sail.
The mask of the sails, right? There was, like a big pole, right? And he was going to jump off if he didn't know the answer. So ata usaba tanale. So there was a zaken echad that came, right? And he told him right now, tinu shekel libanai b'Shabbat. Imagine a person comes and he says that after he passes away, he wants a chetzi sela to go to his sons, right? Every single week. Right? And it's fitting to give them a sela. Now, he told them chetzi sela, right? But really, they were fitting to get, they needed one sela, which means that, he only said to give them half a sela. But they needed one sela to survive. We give them a sela. But if the father said, only give them a shekel, and not a shekel, then they only give them a shekel. And if he said, that if they die, so then other people are going to inherit them. Ben Shamatinu, whether it says give it to them or not give it to them, and they only give a shekel. So Elmaleh, so Ilfa comes and he says, Hamani, who is this? Right?
Rabbi Meir.
Rabbi Meir, he Tafaina Mudalif, 78-1. Rabbi Meir, he Damash, Mitzvah Lekayim Devra Met. It's a mitzvah to be Mekayim Devra Met. Okay? Amar Rav Chasta, Amar Mur Ukva. Says Rav Chasta, name Mur Ukva. Hilchata, what is halacha? Ben Shamar Tenu, Ben Shamar Tenu. Let me call to come. Whether they said give a shekel or don't give them only a shekel, you're going to give them everything that they need. Hakayim Alan Halachak Rabbi Meir says, well, 1 second. I thought that you told me you have to, we pass on like Rabbi Meir. So if the Met went and he said, there's a mitzvah lekayim devra met. So it all depends how he said it. So answers the Gemara, no. That's only going to be in other things. But to do with this, it's better that he should actually give them what they need. So why did he tell them then? Why did he say, only give them a shekel? He wanted them to start that they shouldn't start spending so much money. So what did he do? He purposely, when he said only give them a shekel, so that way they don't spend too much money. So they're very, very cautious in their money. We're just going to finish a perek. We learned over there in the Mishnah. Hapautot. Right? Remember, we're talking about pautot. Right? Pautot are that they're not bar mitzvah, but they're already older. Right? Whether it's 7, 8, 8, 9, 9, 10, there's different ages in pautot. Right? He says their mekach is mekach. It means if they sold mekach, right? B'metaltalim. Amar Rafram says, it's only if they don't have an apotopus. Because if they had an apotopus, then he's in charge. How do we know? Because we already said there's no ktan klum, which means if you have somebody that's an appointed agent on top of them, whatever they do is wallow. But if they don't have, so then already, when they're already at this age that they're almost bar mitzvah, so then yes. So ask the Gemara, says maybe 1 second, maybe there's going to be a difference because of the shlish. And here, remember that the father gave everything over to a shlish, so therefore that's why they're not allowed to do all these things. When I put the pus, right, it's going to be all the things of the yitomim. So answers the Gemara, if so, litni aval b'ktaneh says shlish mashu shash v'yado. My en Masechet Ketubot. What do we mean en Masechet Ketubot? Shmamina afilu be'alma. That means even if there is going to be a potupus, en Masechet Ketubot, and therefore there's no mekach, there's no mekar. Hadran alach mitziat isha. We finish this chapter.